So picture 1, and all the pictures are just 1 through whatever it is. So the first email came in Wednesday of last week. Someone was saying, seems all invoices posted in February do not include VAT. If you remember, VAT is sales tax, basically. Let's say. The way VAT works for our company is when we send our product, when we sell it to our subsidiaries in Europe, this is a Europe thing, we pay VAT on it, I believe. I think. No, we don't. I have no fucking. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know why. Like we collect it and then we remit it and we just zero out. But on one thing we don't. But theoretically we should be selling to the one thing we don't all the time. But we don't do that. So I don't know. But you can see this is a sales order. Okay. So this guy is in Switzerland. Okay. And he puts in the sales orders. So he enters line by line. And just give me like a hello if you're even here. Because I could just be talking and maybe nobody's even here. But this guy is in Switzerland and he
Endurability
says,
said,
okay,
I'm
cool.
here.
So he says, I'm the guy who puts in the sales orders. And I type in, we're selling to this customer who's billed to this and we're shipping the product here. We're selling this item, this many numbers of this item. It costs this much per item. And that's it for that line. Then you put the next item in, the next item, and it could be one line or it could be a lot of lines. And he basically said, these 3 orders that I put in this month don't have VAT. What's the problem? And these probably came late, like 15th of the month, because the customers probably were like, hey, what's up? Or maybe customers were paying and they were like, somebody looked at the invoice when we collected and they were like, where's the tax? Right? It's one of those two. Either we figured out because we looked and saw there wasn't tax, or 2, the customer was like, hey, why did the invoice style change? And so this is some guy in Switzerland. And he sent an email to a person who manages. That's not a manager. He sends an email to a person that enters sales invoices and is somewhat just the contact for if there is something going wrong in posting sales. And then she will kind of take the info and disperse it. Try to find the people that know how to get it fixed. Okay? Alright, all the names are fucking blocked, but I know, like you can see accounts receivable, right? Remember when I thought accounts receivable are the people that collect on money. Like AR also posts the sales, but they also come back and try to collect on the money. It's kind of like a double thing. So like they have the most knowledge about all this, right? Because they're posting the sales, so they know what's yet to be received because they know all of the invoices getting created, right? So there's a reason they do both, because they see the in and the out. So, hey, I apologize. I was out yesterday. You see, this is like, I think this is our time. Maybe, no, that's what's fucking it, maybe. How do emails keep track of time? I think it's always my time. So, I think she just wasn't there, on Wednesday. Which, people take off, obviously. It's like, whatever. And this guy sent it to someone, he sent it to her email. He didn't send it to the accounts receivable email, which would have hit multiple people. He sent it directly to this person because he's probably worked with her a bunch, and she's always the one. Of the probably 4 people that have access to that email account, 2 people will probably never respond to shit if it's not like literally directly their responsibility. Third person would. The third person is this person, and the 4th person would have maybe looked. I think she has access to it. Maybe it's only 3 people that have access, but the 4th person probably would have looked at this email knowing this person's out. But I'm not even sure that 4th person has like access to this. because they work more on the accounts payable part, not the accounts receivable anymore. So she wrote on Tuesday at 3:20. It wouldn't. I couldn't have been. It had to have been in the morning. See, I think these timers are fucked. But I know the chronological order, so it doesn't really matter, right? Hey, I apologize. I was out yesterday. I reached out to our tax accountants, which is me and my boss, to see if they can help me investigate the issues. I will follow up when I know more. So this is where you can already kind of tell there's somewhat of a problem. So these sales orders don't have sales tax posted on them. And there's two routes to go with this, logically. There's one, the system isn't working and you go to IT. And there's number two, should there be tax calculated on these or not? And the logical way to actually go about this is you don't do number two. Because the number two people don't do anything with VAT. We don't know anything about VAT. We don't do anything with it. So asking us about it gets you nowhere. Asking IT about it matters because we just revamped our whole sales tax system on February 1st. And they can probably give you a clue as to what in the system is breaking. But she obviously took number two because we sit right next to her. And because we talk to her, she's usually in the office on Tuesdays. So I think she was actually in on that Thursday. So she took the easy route and said, hey, I'm going to ask the tax people, because for every sales tax problem she's had in the past, she's always asked me and my boss, even if we're not necessarily the correct people. Can't really fault her too much on that. But technically, when people don't know anything about these things, and it's obviously a systems problem, you should ask IT. Okay? Just throwing that out there. But there are two people you could ask, and she asked one, which might not have been the greatest. It's okay. Purple is this same person. So this person, I started clipping the bubbles after in a sec. So this person is, let me write this down. I'm making up names, of course. Okay, so Swiss guy is Swiss guy. This lady is going to be Maria. Okay? So Maria is the AR person. The AR girl. Swiss guy is Swiss guy. Okay. So then she sends out this email. Good morning. Swiss guy has realized that since we've gone live with Avalara Switzerland, Avalara is the website, and you can Google this if you want to see it. It's Avalara is a website that will pull your data in, figure out what the tax rate should be on a sale, spit it back to your ERP system, and then when the invoice is created for your sale, it'll have a tax number calculated on it. And then you can submit the invoice to the customer and everything, la la la. Then at the end of the month, Avalara will prepare all of the sales tax returns that you want it to for you. It also does VAT, but we did not enable VAT because we didn't want to pay for it. It's a small thing anyway. You get the idea, okay? So Avalara Switzerland. So now that we've gone live with Avalara, there should be a comma here. Switzerland has not been charged VAT. We think it may be due to the tax zone. What would happen if we move the tax code back to what it was previously? Let me know if you prefer to hop on a call later. We can discuss the options to get this corrected. Okay. And she probably sent the email to me and CC'd IT. And the reason she has this info, is it the next picture? No. The reason she has this info is because the Swiss guy sent her an email with this. I guess I didn't take a picture of it. The Swiss guy sent her this picture saying, this is what it looks like now, and this is a problem. Okay? He's like, it didn't used to look like this. So he took a picture of this saying like, in the customer info, like in the tax info section, it didn't used to look like this. Okay? And obviously I had to black out our customer number coding system and our other customer coding system. Okay? So everyone's pinged, so that's cool. This guy's IT. So you can barely see it, but if you see a picture, and I'll go over it anyway. If you can see a picture up here, it's green on the top and like gray on the bottom. That's gonna be IT guy. We're gonna call him Carl. Carl, the IT guy. Okay. See right here, Senior Business System Analyst. Okay. Hi, can you create a support ticket? QAD is our ERP system. Can you create a support ticket for this? Since we basically end dated all non-Avatax tax rates, we need to review this and figure out how to fix this shit. Basically, mine and my boss's response originally was like, we don't know. You know, we don't know what happened with the system and why it got messed up. So IT guy responds. He goes, hi, Maria, boss, my boss, and Ross, I think is probably what it says here. The three of us. To fix the taxes for Switzerland, we need to have a list of all customers that are impacted. Find what their tax setup was using the pilot environment. Pilot is, we have like 7 different environments you can do shit in. There's production, which is the live one. There's UAT, which people put a lot of shit in for testing. And then there's the pilot environment, which is like a historic version, let's say. Okay? So find what their tax setup was in the historic version before we swapped to using Avalara. Then he's attached a list of all of our customers from Switzerland, or all of our customers from Switzerland, and I forget what this is. Also, the tax rate setups need to be reviewed because we changed the tax class on all items from either blank or tax to one of the product line tax codes. So the way Avalara works is you have to assign a tax class to every single item that you sell because every item is taxed differently. Let's say I'm in the business of what's a good one? Let's say okay, I won't even give an example, but let's just say I'm a business that sells things, and depending on the state, what I sell, certain products are taxable and certain products are not taxable. And in every state, they have different legislation that say this item in 20 states is taxable and 20 other states is non-taxable. And I sell 10 different items, so there's an array of what is taxable where and what is not. Plus, they may get reduced tax rates for selling certain products in certain states, cities, towns, you know, whatever, right? So basically what Avalara does is first it pulls the address, and then it pulls each individual line that got entered on a sales order. And it says for the first item, we are in this state on this road with this zip code. What are the rules for specifically this item? So if you sell metal, right, then you might say, well, I have metal rods, I have metal screws, I have metal boards, metal sheets, all these things, and they might all have the same tax class of being metal, let's say. So you would attach a code that says this is metal, so that when you sell a metal screw, It says, where in the US are we? Okay, I am in this state, on this road, in this zip code. How does this state, city, zip code tax metal? And then you link metal to a tax code that the system is going to understand. So, right, it's just letters and numbers. But you say metal is metal. And then Avalara will say, it won't pull the item number that you have in your ERP system. Avalara will say, where are we? And it will pull metal. And it will say, how is metal taxed here? Maybe plastic and metal are different. You get the idea? So you have the code, and 1 billion items that you sell fall under different codes. So and that is what these tax classes are. So for example, right here where it says tax, your item tax classes are metal, plastic, paper, construction, water, lightning, fire, right? Whatever. For us, these are 3 of our codes, okay? And right there, they're letters with numbers, and they make sense to us. But IP will get taxed a certain way. Zip will get taxed a certain way. IR1 will get taxed a certain way. And what we did essentially was, that's the new system. That's how Avalara works. The old system was there was only one tax class for every single item we had. And it was tax. And it would pull what state are you in, just what state, that's it. And if we collected tax on that state, it would say all of the items multiplied by the tax rate for that state. Right? It's not doing like crazy calculations. It's not going down jurisdictional to like city, local, whatever. It's not doing that. It's also not applying different tax rates to different products you sell. So what we did basically was we went into the items and said this item is not taxable. Every time we added a new item, we would have to go in there and say it's taxable or non-taxable. But we wouldn't get varying rates on the things. So yes, it would exempt certain items from being taxable, but that's a very manual process which didn't get updated ever. I got a ping, but it's whatever. Okay, you get the idea? So we went from a system where it's very manual to a system to now all you have to do when you make a new product. So we have products and then we have items under the products. So whenever we make a new product, we have to go in and mark all of the items as whatever they are. That's it. And Avalara will do everything else for us. And it'll charge the correct rate and all these things. If you didn't know, CH is like some abbreviation for Switzerland, because I don't remember what the fuck the country is, but it's something. Because it's like German or whatever. So right, we went from a system where the only item tax class was tax to a system where we're using codes for tax classes. So when we flipped to the new system, they inputted on everything in the US and in all international. They swapped the system to be for all these codes. So when they started running Swiss invoices, none of the items worked, because the only part of Avalara that we had set up was domestic US. Okay? So anything international was never going to get taxed, because if you sell something in Switzerland, it's going to pull a Swiss address and it'll pull a code, but it'll say it's in Switzerland. Avalara doesn't mess with Switzerland, so it gets 0. It doesn't even matter what the hell you're doing. It's going to pull nothing, because it's not calculating tax internationally. So that's why it wasn't pulling 7.7% on all of the sales. Okay? So you can't just revert the system entirely, because the problem is we have taken away this tax class code to all of the items, and we have given every item these letters and numbers as codes. So you can't go back to, okay, well, Switzerland taxes things based off of the item class tax, because there are no longer items with the item tax class tax. They all have letters and numbers. So even if you go back to the old system, it's not going to find tax. So one of the fixes is you could just put these things and make rates for every single code, specifically in Switzerland, and make them all 7.7. That's kind of what we went back to, but we changed a bunch of different things. Okay, but you see how this is a bit nuanced, right? I only know this because my next email, I'm the maroon guy, okay? My name's Ross. Hey, IT guy. And right, I shouldn't even really be responding to this, but nobody else is going to respond to this email. I know nobody is. We're going to get nowhere with it. I have to be the one to work on this because everyone else doesn't want to touch it. Is there a reason we can't across the board revert all 99CH customers to the old way we were calculating tax? Now, I just explained to you why we can't, because they all have the tax item class. And our system doesn't work with tax item class anymore. IT guy responds, we can set all 99CH customers to the previous settings. That's not an issue. We can also reinstate the tax rate based on the below settings. The one thing is the new items don't have tax classes of tax, but they're now using the new codes, right? So you need to set up new tax rates for every single code. You can do this in UAT, which is our testing environment, which I've been doing all of the testing in, even though this isn't any of my job, before making any changes in production, which is our live environment, to ensure we're seeing the expected result. Now, right here, again, this isn't my job. I should have just forwarded this to somebody else to test. But I know they're not going to do shit. And when we don't post sales, everybody starts freaking out. So basically, I have to test it. It's essentially becoming me and IT talking. But again, this is a sales problem. It is not. You can see this is not tax, right? This is systems, and the literal how we're selling product is messed up, which is people posting sales, right? So the AR person should be working on this because it's affecting how people are posting sales. It has nothing to do with what is the tax rate, right? That's what my job is figuring out tax implications, not making the processes work. But I know nobody's working on this. And, okay, so I go in to test some shit, and I make this email, okay? Please understand that I am not a systems person, right? I didn't get hired to do systems work. Also, this is the first time I've ever used a smiley face emote in an email ever, because I wanted to express my mega confusion and my desire to not work on this. Okay? So the error I was getting for one thing was when I was testing just the default current process of what it was looking like when they were trying to post. Warning, tax data is incomplete. Tax detail was not created. Invoice will not post this for the sales order. So that's why they're saying he can't. Somehow they ended up being able to post. I don't know how, but with post with no VAT. I don't know how, but I'm not even able to make a sales order in our UAT, which is our testing environment. Tax rate master does not exist. Tax type CH VAT. Tax class IP1. Tax uses domain, and then sold goods or something. So the problem here is for this environment, there is no tax class IP1, and it doesn't know how. There's no connection here between the environment that it's in, how it's going to treat something, because it doesn't. There's nothing telling you in this environment how to tax IP1. So it just bugs out and it just kicks you out. And it says, I can't do this function. Because in CHVAT, the only prior thing, if you remember, was tax. It doesn't know how to treat IP1. So it says, I can't post this because stuff is messed up. So I see that this is happening, and mentally I kind of get it. Not fully, but I get it. I see what you're saying, which agrees to the above error. Alright, I just copy and pasted this. Screen capped. In UAT, I have edited code 4053 and added these to update CHVAT to have the associated item codes, right? So now I've gone here and I've given it a tax rate to be able to link to this. So now the process will work. Under this area, in this environment, it has this. So I've given all of our tax codes tax rates under this environment, CHVAT. When creating a sale via pending invoice maintenance, which is like how we create our sales orders, and changing the tax environment to CHDOM, which I'll explain, it seems to be calculating tax correctly. Is the tax environment something we can change? So I don't really fully remember this. Oh, I know why. So I kind of don't remember all this. Okay. When leaving it as AvaTax, it tries to ping Avalara. Since production does not have VAT enabled, it fails to receive data back. So right, you just get this error and it lags the system, and then it fucks you over. Well, actually no. So when you do this, it pings Avalara and comes back with a 0. It still will post the sale, but it'll give you a 0. Let me know if I'm in the totally wrong direction, because like up to here, like I really don't know how the system works. I kind of get it, but until you fully understand the system, it's like, what the fuck? And again, I'm working on this. I'm working in our ERP system, which you can't trust me with this shit. I don't do anything with selling items. There could be so many things I'm testing that I'm missing because I don't know to test for these things. I don't post sales orders. Hi all. And this is when he called me because he was like, Ross, you're basically correct, yes, but you're not fully there. And, he told me some more stuff. Because, I don't know. There was some earlier email where he talked about changing the tax environment, okay? So he's like, yes, you basically have it. You're right, but for the wrong reason. Okay? Or like, the fix is correct, but not technically fully. Like, if we would have implemented this, it would have worked, but it's not technically correct. So he kind of gave me some more understanding, right? I have a call with the IT guy. So this guy isn't IT per se. He is systems, And I don't fully get the difference, but you probably get what that means. He's not the computer died guy. He's the ERP system is failing guy. So I had a call with Ross about the setup and what the best approach is. Talk through setup for customer ship to customer and business relation tax fields. They should all be set up matching what is in the attached files. Okay, now this is very important. So these are 3 different fields in our ERP system. They all have the same data. They all tell you the customer data, right? They're just in 3 different spots. And he's like, we talked through this. They all need to be set up matching some shit, okay? Also, Ross needs to create necessarily tax rate records for tax type CHVAT for each tax class, which I already did in testing and it worked. So I can do that. I know how to do that. He does not have access to tax maintenance screens, so he will create QAD permissions for us. So yeah, I could test this in our testing environment, but I didn't have permissions to change this in production. So I sent in a request for our ERP system so I can go in and edit our tax rates. And I felt I was comfortable having that level of responsibility because that is what is the tax rate per item. That is a tax thing, right? How is this item being taxed in this area? I'm going in and then correcting it. That sounds like a tax thing. Okay? So I submitted a ticket to get the tax roll because I didn't have it. The process to credit and rebill will be similar as we discussed with the exemption process. So the problem here and I kind of explained this before, but we posted a sale with no tax. If we fix the system and then undo that sale, it's going to undo the sale with tax. So we'll end up having either a credit balance for the customer, which you don't want, or on our reports when we submit it to like Switzerland saying how much we paid and how much we owe, we're going to say that we paid in 0 for this invoice, but that we want money back. So we're going to be stealing money from the government. Not like, you know what I'm saying though. Not literally that. But we're going to be asking for money back because the forward and the back don't align. So what you have to do is we put it in with no tax. So you have to put in another sales order but negative and take the item back with no tax. And then you fix the system and then you post it again, so you make a third posting with tax. And the first two cancel each other out and the third is good to go. Okay, that's what credit rebill is. You made the first one, credit is reversing the first one, and rebill is putting the bill again. So run the credit process to create the two orders. And like I can't really explain the system here because I don't totally get it. But when you do the credit rebill, it makes both the second and the third at the same time, but it won't actually calculate the third. So he's telling Maria to do that because that's literally her job. Post the credit order to offset the original invoice. So right, you create those two. You create number 2 and number 3. Post number 2 to offset number 1. Update the addresses with the right tax information, also for Maria. That's these 3 things right here. Customer shipped to, customer, and business relation tax fields. Because the fix that we're going to implement won't work if these aren't all updated. So he's saying update the addresses, which are these 3 are just different addresses. Maria. Create the needed tax rates for tax type CH VAT ROS. So right, I'm through here she's fixing the addresses to make sure that our fix will work. Here I'm adding a fix. Go through pending invoices and check the tax information line by line. That's for Maria before she posts number 3. Just make sure it's working. And then you post them. Maria. So right, Maria has 5 out of the 6 jobs. Mine, these are right. These are chronological. They have to be done in this order. I'm number 4. This is coming from our systems guy, right? It sounds like this all makes sense. The posting person is going to do all this work to make sure postings work. The tax guy is going to go fix the tax rate. You could say maybe this isn't even my job, but I'm just going to say it's my job. And then the posting person fixes this. Makes sense. So this is me. I am sending just to Maria. Okay, I'm going out of my way to clarify this. You know how I kept highlighting customer, ship to customer, business relation tax fields? I am going out of my way, and look how many people are CC'd and who it's going to. I go out of my way from Ross to Maria to send her this email. Okay? Hey, do you know if you'll have time for this or if it'll be something we fix next week? I just want to make sure we can sync up our times because I'm number 4 in a chronological order. You said these can be big invoices plus some changes have to be made in 3 spots for every customer. Again, I'm literally laying out there if you didn't like I'm telling her like, hey, if you read too quickly IT guy's email, maybe you would have missed this. So I'm going to reiterate that there are 3 things she has to change in every customer. There's only 20 of them, so it's not like it's the end of the world. So my guess is it doesn't need to be fixed today if you're busy with other things. This is going to be similar to the way sales tax when we do certificates, right? And he literally said this as well, our certificate process. You will have to find all the postings for 99CH that show no VAT and credit them, and update the 3 items below for all the customers. I'm reiterating this part where the guy said, I posted 3 sales orders and they're messed up. So you just have to fix 3 orders. And again, in my email, I don't know how big these orders are. So I'm saying, hey, we can fix this next week, yada, yada, yada. I don't give a shit whenever we fix this. So I'm just putting it on her whenever it fits her schedule. I'm good whenever. You'll have to find all of them and fix them and update the 3 items below. Literally, I'm saying 3 again. 3 spots for every customer. Update the 3 items below for all customers. Then I'll go in and add the tax rate classes, and then they can get reposted. Right? I'm just reiterating this. In case she didn't understand it, because remember, I'm the guy who called the systems guy twice to help me figure out and help him figure out how we can fix this problem. A problem that's not mine. I went out of my way to talk to him, and then I reworded it for her so that she wasn't in the calls, so I have more info, more understanding of the system than she does. I'm just telling her, literally laying it out for her, what she has to do. I tell her the report to go into, how to get to the tab, which is business relation, customer, and customer ship to. Business relation, customer, and customer ship to. Right? I am going out of my way to help this person because she could just be confused. Right? You're going into like an ERP system and you're editing shit and maybe you get a little flustered. So you don't even want to touch it for a little bit. You got to think about it, let it sit in your head. But I go in there and I tell her where the fuck the data is. Okay? Her response is, hey Ross, I went ahead and pulled the 3 affected invoices and we got lucky. They're very small for international customers! Exclamation point. So I will be able to prioritize this after lunch today. That way, Swiss guy can release the orders he's been holding since the issue started. Just to make sure I understand the process, I will credit, then you will change the tax rate classes, then I will proceed to rebill. You see what's missing from this email, right? And it took me a while to figure out how to respond to this email because the person is intentionally dodging something that they're supposed to change. That the systems guy said they had to change and that I reiterated they had to change. 3 detailed explanation of literally where to go, the box to look at, and the code to type in. You just have to follow the instructions. There's no thinking. You go to the box and you type in this instead of what was there before. Right? You can see she literally skipped the step. And I don't know how to respond to this email without reiterating it again. I don't want to reiterate it again because I don't want it to sound like I think she's dumb. But it's literally just dropped. I don't know how to... I have to think for a few minutes. How do I respond to this email? Because, right, she works from home. She only comes in once a week or twice. And she wasn't there that day. So I can't just yell, remember the 3 things. And you can see she responded to me, just me. After I sent her, just her, that thing. Okay? Yes, that should work. And in the pending invoice maintenance, we should be able to see the tax calculator to make sure nothing's off. So the reason I sent this email in this way is because I know if she doesn't change those 3 things, the invoice won't work. It's not going to calculate any tax. Okay? The system just won't work. So I reiterate that she has to go make sure it works before we post it. Because you can see it. You can see the draft before it gets posted. You're going to see if there's 0 tax or if there's a number of tax. And right, in this, it's VAT. VAT is value added tax. Right? So I don't want to reiterate that there's 3 things because everybody's already fucking said it. But I'm going to make sure if she follows this step that it can't fuck up. So don't just go in there and post shit. Look at it before you post it. And then she asked me, do you have access to change the ship to info? And I go, no, I can't access that maintenance. Because I don't want access to that. I do not want to have the ability to change anything with customers. That's bad. I do not either. Who will be changing that info? Okay. And what we don't know here is yesterday, the day before, when we made this email, or the day before, when the systems guy sent out this email, he made sure, and I was on the call, he made sure to check that she had access to edit these 3 functions. He literally, like, he went above and beyond to make sure that the people who need to change the shit have access. And it's obvious that she would have access, but he even double checked. Okay? I do not either. Who will be changing that info? Just to clarify, you are going to change the below info on the customers. I am not processing adjustments are on correct. No. It's been stated that Maria is going to be doing this. By the systems guy and by me. Basically 2-3 times. I can only add in the tax rates for item classes. I can't change any tax settings elsewhere in EE. EE is our QAD version. IT guy was looking through the permissions yesterday, and I thought he saw that you were either a directly allowed user or a part of a user group that could change those settings. Because I already know that she has access to it. It's not like they flipped the switch, flip in a day, or like, you know, a third of a day. They wouldn't do that. And then I say those settings should be applied to all customers. Oh, I thought I read the below as you were adjusting the tax information. Now I'm going to run back and I'm going to show you the IT guy, the systems guy says Maria, Ross, Maria. My email to help her out says you will have to find all these postings, update the 3 items, then I'll go in and add the rates, and then they can be reposted. I literally had to figure out how to write this sentence when I did, because I wanted to say it's her job. Because it literally is her job. And I gave her, why would I give her all of this info for if I'm changing it? It just doesn't make sense. The person is just trying to skirt their job. And this probably takes 10-15 minutes to edit. Okay? There's 19 customers and you're changing 3 spots. It probably takes, it might take like half a minute on each one, let's say. Or let's say a minute on each one. That's 20 minutes. It's not hard. I literally I told her where it all is. Just in case she wouldn't already know. And it's something she should already know. So I didn't even have to write it out. So I say no, you have permission, and it should be applied to all customers as it's been explained in a previous email. Oh, I thought I read that you were changing it. Oh, you were adjusting the tax rate. Can you request access to change the below information? Again, why is she asking for me to do it? Why is she asking me to get access where I should not have access to change the info? I have a lot on my plate, trying to fix the tax issues and processing the large amount of tax credit and rebills on top of my regular full-time job. If you could just do this portion, it would really help a lot. Now here again, I really want to just make the change, but I know from an accounting perspective, there are segregation of duties for reasons, and you are not supposed to go over the line for some things just because it makes someone else's day easier. You really want to do it, it's a really easy fix. But you shouldn't make changes where you're not supposed to. It makes a flaw in the system when the system doesn't have a flaw. I could have requested access to this, and support probably would have given it to me, although I had previously talked to the systems guy, and he's like, yeah, it probably makes sense that you wouldn't edit this. But I would have had to have asked access from my boss, who would have declined it. I'm not going to go through the work to request access to something I don't want that my boss is going to tell me to stop messing with. But you can see how before she said she could do it. They're very small, and she could do it after lunch. Then she's like, oh, I don't have access to it. And I say, you do have access. And then she goes back and says, I have a lot of work to do. Okay, I don't have timestamps, but they're not, it's the same day and whatever. It's like, these aren't different weeks. It's the same day. This shit doesn't just change in a second. I say, I can't get access to editing that info, so it will just have to be done next week. Because I'm pissed, okay? I worked with the systems guy to figure out the fix. Now, yes, you could say the systems guy already knew the fix. But the goal of systems is to make sure that people understand what's happening in the system so they can say, yes, let's make this change. No, let's not make this change. Because they don't understand, like, they obviously understand operations, but they don't understand what we're trying to get to. And you have to say, yes, this gets us to where we're getting to. No, this doesn't. And they can't just go make changes. They need verification that their own thought process is correct in the circumstance, right? And I've helped this guy out, the systems guy. We have been working on this. It should have been somebody else and this guy, because this isn't my stuff. Me verifying that everything we're thinking about is working is technically not the appropriate person to do it, because I don't even know these processes. I just think, I just envision how the process works, and it seems like it'll work for me. I have somewhat of an understanding of programming and systems, but I'm not good at either one of them. I'm not educated in either, and I'm not even supposed to be the responsible party to tell him that everything is good. But I did it because I think it makes sense, everything that he was talking about. So I'm just pissed. And I just say, okay, let's do it next week. Because I know this is going to piss some people off. Because we can't not post sales, because the company gets pissed off if we don't post sales immediately. So then the next email comes from... So the way it works is I work for my boss, and my boss works for the CFO. Everybody else in accounting works under this lady, the she boss, right? Which everybody hates. Okay. So she basically pings everybody, including the CFO in here, I believe. Yeah. In this email, she pings the CFO. Who, again, me and my boss don't work under this lady. Who everybody hates. Everybody in the company hates her, okay? It's not just accounting. The company, everybody hates her. Hi, everyone. I wanted to reach out on this. So basically, obviously, the only way she would have figured out about this is Maria sends this or any of the previous emails to the she boss, or else the she boss wouldn't have any idea what's going on. Sends it to her and says, I don't have time to work on this. Right? And that might be true, but that doesn't change whose job it is to fix things. Right? I wanted to reach out on this. We are having to hold orders in Switzerland because of this issue, and this is not an AR process. And Maria doesn't have the capacity to fix this at the moment with the other requirements. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here saying this is an AR process. And when it's literally talking about sales order, I'm going to say that's a accounts receivable problem because they post sales orders and collect on sales orders, right? So the fact that they can't post sales orders because the system is made incorrectly, it's either an AR problem or a systems problem. It has nothing to do with tax and what the tax rate is or anything. It has to do with either the way people are posting sales is wrong or the system behind the way we post sales is wrong. Not a tax problem. Is there anything we can do to fix this and get these orders shipped in the short term? So like we can't ship things unless we post the sale. Okay, that's the problem. My understanding from our discussions is that maintenance on Avalara will be with the tax team going forward unless a direct impact that we need to process understanding on AR from. Okay, I don't know what that means. Any escalation here so we don't impact sales would be greatly appreciated. I can't do anything. If they need more people to work in AR, then you hire more people. If you need people to manage what they're doing so that we do certain things first, then you tell Maria this is what you need to work on first. Right? Because I should not have access to change this. My boss should not have access to change this. Systems should not change this on their own. I mean, there is a you could have a thought that systems should change this. You could, and that would be fair. But if they develop the system and they push it, I feel like, again, you're asking for some errors. Because the people who post sales have not been in this discussion at all. So systems doesn't want to just implement something that nobody's really approved. Right? Because then they're gonna implement it, and there's gonna be a problem, and it's gonna be their head on the chopping block. So why would they ever put themselves in on that? They're not going to. They want someone to approve it, right? And they're probably like, Ross can't do it. We can't have Ross doing this. It just doesn't make sense. You get it? It would be a bad idea to have Ross doing this. So we want somebody from AR to do it. You see the problem here? So the person who doesn't have the time to work on it sent it to her boss, and instead of her boss saying make this a priority, she just sent it off to somebody else who's technically not in their chain of command. And at this time, me and my boss are working really hard to work on something and finish something up that really matters for us. We should not have the functionality to go in and fix the problem because we need to be separated from all the data input. It's a large company, so there's no excuse for having a problem with segregation of duties. It's a large company, there's enough people. You just do that. So now my boss here says, hi, she boss. My understanding is that this isn't an Avalara maintenance issue, right? Everything I've explained so far is in our ERP system, right? And I told you at the very beginning, you probably forgot, Avalara is a separate website. Our ERP system pings Avalara to get data on the tax codes, and then it comes back into the ERP system, and it gets a tax number, and then it puts it on the invoice when you post it. But almost all of that work is being done in the ERP system. And the problem is not anything with Avalara because we're not even using Avalara, right? We've actually changed our process back to the old process to not use Avalara intentionally. So this can't be an Avalara maintenance issue if we aren't even using Avalara. This resides in the QAD setup, so it's all systems. I don't think we have access to edit the QAD systems, nor will we have a full understanding of how these functions in the ERP system. And he said this intentionally because he knows that I keep repeating we had. I keep repeating that I can't 100% say anything is good. I can't confirm anything. Right? We were going to update our sales tax January 1st of 2023. I didn't test something and we had to push it back a whole month because I'm designing the test, I'm creating the test, I'm doing the tests, I'm reviewing the tests, and I missed something. But I should not have been doing any of those. And a lot of people agree with me. The systems people agreed and my boss agreed with me that it shouldn't have been my job to test those things. And nobody puts blame on me for that. Like nobody does because I'm literally helping out in all of this. The AR team should have. Those 3 people that are in that AR email, they're the AR people. They work with posting all of this stuff. They should have been testing this because there's so much extra functionality in posting invoices that I was never even trained on. And the only reason I got trained was because I stepped up to say I would test these things, which I shouldn't have been testing. So, right, that's my boss's response, and that was how we left it. Now do you understand a little bit why I'm angry at a lot of people who work? And I understand that it's very easy to say companies are bad and they should pay employees more. I definitely get it. I understand it. In some industries, the way vacation works is kind of messed up. Benefits are a problem in a lot of places. I understand all this stuff. But when you look at what's going on here, and obviously this is all from my perspective, the employee gets caught on their toes even in these emails where they say, like, I don't have access. You do have access. Your job is to have access to this. And then, oh, I had a lot of time. Yeah, like, we got lucky. They're very small. Oh, I don't have time anymore. And then the boss lady steps in and basically says, no, Ross, this is your job. But it's not my job. These are the people inside the company that make the company not fun to work with. Right? Like, I like doing tax stuff. It's enjoyable. It's high level. Barely anybody knows a cent of anything that's going on, aside from the people that understand tax. It's a nice job. I go out of my way to help people, and they just push work onto me. So I can't be like, this person should get paid more when they're actively schemazing me. They're trying to make me just do more work that they should be doing. And again, if it's a problem with capacity for this one person who probably is doing more work than they should be doing, then they need to hire another person, or in this one instance, you take their capacity and you say this is priority number 1. So basically the she boss sucks because she's useless and she didn't delegate her work. She is the controller, so she's basically the highest accountant, let's say, aside from the CFO, because I think the CFO is her boss, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think. So she's the highest financial accountant, if you know what that means at all. And she's trying to delegate to the accounting team, but the loophole in all of this is that me and my boss aren't part of her team. We report directly to the CFO. And it's so good for us because we basically don't have to deal with her. And everybody hates her. All these emails, they're dog shit. Everybody hates her. Okay? But this is why I was a bit frazzled on Friday, because I know there's a problem at work. I know I can fix it, but I shouldn't, because it's not when you're not just an accountant, when you're also a CPA, you have to hold yourself to being accountable, to being reliable, to not step over boundaries that you shouldn't, right? If I start editing this data, then I should have access to edit everything in the system, and I shouldn't be, because then I'll start making all, like theoretically, obviously I wouldn't do this, but I could start posting sales to myself. I could start doing this and all these other things. I shouldn't have access to almost anything. That's why we have a lot of view only access to things. And I'm fine updating the tax rate for something because a tax rate changed and that's a tax thing. I get it. I wouldn't want, I mean, I would, but I wouldn't want AR to go in and update tax rates per se, because that's a tax issue. If it moves from 7.7 to 8, maybe that's a tax problem. Okay, I understand that. That's fine. I'll go in the system and I'll update that. This is why I have problems with people, and I can't always think the best in everybody. I try to think everybody's a great employee, and if I, for example, like if I don't know what somebody does and people talk highly of them, I just assume they're really good at their job. I'm not going to be like, people talk good about them, but really they're probably bad. Like, I like to think people are good workers. I see good traits in people and bad traits in people. But when you help somebody out and they turn around and just try to keep shoving the work back onto you, it's just not good.